Police received a handwritten letter that led investigators to believe the murder was connected to the Zodiac. But in 2016, investigators received an anonymous letter from a person admitting what was written was a
living
sick
in
joke.
Tuolumne County the whole time, who died just 3 years ago. Reporter Renee Santos on who they now believe was responsible for the Zodiac killings.
Yeah, this group also connects the Zodiac killer to a 55-year-old murder out of Riverside, California. And we just got off the phone with Riverside police, who tell us there isn't a connection. The case.
Imagine a killer so mysterious that more than 50 years later, nobody knows who he really was. A man who murdered innocent people, taunted the police, and sent secret coded messages to newspapers. He called himself the Zodiac Killer. And despite one of the largest investigations in American history, he was never caught. This is the terrifying true story of the Zodiac Killer. Beginning. The story begins in Northern California in the late 1960s. On December 20th, 1968, two teenagers, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, were parked on a quiet road near Vallejo, California. They were enjoying a peaceful evening together. Suddenly, a stranger approached their car. Moments later, gunshots shattered the silence. David was killed instantly. Betty tried to run for her life, but was shot multiple times and died nearby. Police had very few clues. At first, it seemed like a tragic but isolated crime. They had no idea it was only the beginning. The killer returns, 1:30 to 2:30. Just months later, on July 4th, 1969, another young couple was attacked while sitting in a parked car. This time, the victims were Michael Mageau and Darlene Ferrin. A man approached their vehicle and opened fire. Darlene was killed. Michael survived despite severe injuries. Soon after the attack, a man called the police. In a calm voice, he confessed to the shooting. Then he made a shocking claim. He said he was also responsible for the murders of the first teenage couple. The police suddenly realized they were dealing with a serial killer. The letters. A few weeks later, newspapers across California received disturbing letters. The writer claimed responsibility for the murders. He included coded messages known as ciphers. The letters demanded publication on the front page. If they were not published, he threatened to kill again. The author gave himself a chilling name: the Zodiac. One cipher was eventually cracked by a schoolteacher and his wife. The message read, "I like killing people because it is so much fun." The public was horrified. Fear spread across California. Everyone wanted to know, who was the Zodiac Killer? The Lake Berryessa attack. On September 27, 1969, the Zodiac struck again. A young couple was relaxing near Lake Berryessa. Suddenly, a strange man appeared. He wore a black executioner's hood marked with a white crosshair symbol. He tied up the couple before stabbing them repeatedly. One victim survived long enough to describe the attacker. Before leaving, the killer wrote dates of his crimes on the victim's car door. It was a terrifying signature. The Zodiac wanted everyone to know he was responsible. The San Francisco murder, 5-6 o'clock. Just weeks later, the Zodiac committed another attack. A taxi driver named Paul Stein picked up a passenger in San Francisco. When they reached their destination, the passenger shot Paul in the head. The killer calmly walked away. Witnesses saw him leaving the scene. Police came incredibly close to catching him. But due to a communication mistake, officers were looking for the wrong suspect description. The Zodiac slipped away into the night. The mystery deepens. 6 to 7 o'clock. Over the next few years, more letters arrived. Some contained coded messages that remain unsolved even today. The Zodiac claimed responsibility for dozens of murders. However, investigators could only confirm a handful of victims. Many suspects were investigated. One of the most famous was Arthur Lee Allen. But despite years of investigation, police never found enough evidence to charge him. The killer's true identity remained a mystery. Ending, 7 to 8 o'clock. Today, the Zodiac killer case remains one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in American history. The killer vanished without a trace. His letters, ciphers, and taunts continue to fascinate investigators and true crime fans around the world. More than half a century later, one question still remains unanswered. Who was the Zodiac killer? And perhaps the most chilling part of all, the person behind those murders may have lived an ordinary life, hidden in plain sight, while the world searched for answers. If you enjoyed this true crime story, subscribe for more real unsolved mysteries and crime cases from the USA.